This podcast is for SEO professionals, and each week, with the help of our wonderful guests, we discuss the important stuff that actually affects our careers and progression, but sadly often doesn't get talked about. You know, the invaluable soft and interpersonal skills that are often taken for granted, such as the skills we need for listening, time management, communication, and more. We also talk about the big issues that affect us and our careers, such as burnout, imposter syndrome, self-belief, saying no, plus other big issues and obstacles. With this podcast, we want to share knowledge on topics that unlock our listeners' true potential and enhance not only their careers, but all parts of their lives. So, are you ready to prioritize your own personal growth and career development? Then let's crack on with this week's episode. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the SEO Mindset Podcast, where your hosts are myself, Sarah McDowell, and the ever so fabulous Tasmin Suleiman, where new episodes go out every single Thursday. Now, this week I have a cracking conversation with Crystal Nyarko. And the conversation is all about taking an idea and turning it into a reality. And I think this is going to resonate with so many people, where we have all these wonderful ideas, but we kind of get stuck at making it happen, turning it into reality. So me and Crystal share examples of where we've done this, where we've taken an idea and brought it into fruition. We talk about the challenges that happened and how we overcame them. And we also share our top tips in how you can make sure your idea is as successful as it can be. So it's a great conversation. Who is Crystal? Crystal is a dynamic freelance social media marketing specialist and the visionary founder of Clear Narrative Media, a purpose-driven media and marketing agency. She has a passion for amplifying voices and transforming how founders, creators, and organizations tell their stories. Before I invite Crystal on to the podcast, and before I start that conversation so you can hear, just a reminder of how you can support the podcast. So if you're enjoying what me and Tasmin are doing, a reminder that we are set up on Buy Me a Coffee, so you can buy us a virtual coffee. You can give us a one-off donation. And you can do that by following the link in the show notes. And you can also sign up to our newsletter. Tasmin takes care of our newsletter and each week sends updates from the podcast with her own thoughts, ideas, updates about podcasts, new episodes, and anything else that we've been up to. So again, if you want to join that, if you want to join our newsletter, the link is in the show notes. Well, without further ado, let's crack on with this week's episode. Hello, Crystal, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Sarah. Lovely to be back.
I have to say that green, I mean, people can't see you. I mean, they might see you if they go onto social media, but you're wearing a lovely green cardigan, and I have to say it is your colour.
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed.
So, I have invited you on the podcast to talk about transforming ideas into an actual reality. Yeah. And I think this is going to be such a great episode because lots of our listeners would have been in that situation where they've come up with lots of ideas, they want to do something, but there's something stopping them, or there's an obstacle, or so I think this is going to be really great. It's going to resonate with a lot of people, and it also seemed like a no-brainer because your whole business tagline and your business name is
Clear Narrative Media.
So smooth. Your whole business tagline is transporting your vision to life. Yeah. So, can you tell us more about that?
So I came up with the tagline, I think, 2021, just before we officially registered, because I realized that a lot of people that I interacted with had something that they wanted to do, or they were doing it but didn't necessarily have clarity as to how to really refine it and bring it to life. And I found that I was providing them with the support to do that. So whether that was giving them ways to set up structures, or supporting with social media, so it's not just on paper, but it's actually like online and physically out there. And I realized that when I think about my business, I always say this, that we are the bridge between confusion and clarity. So bringing your vision to life, you need clarity on exactly what the idea is, what you want it to do, its purpose, and its impact. And I think that's when that was born. Yeah.
Lovely. And I think it is really hard because you might have a cracking idea, but it needs to you need to be able to communicate it in a clear way, don't you?
Yeah.
Because you need to be able for others, your audience, so who you're trying to attract, there needs to be a clear message so they get it as well, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And it just got me thinking, what might be a lovely little exercise is if we spend sort of the first part of this podcast episode to talk about ideas that we've had ourselves,
Yeah.
how they came into fruition. That was a nice word that just rolled off my tongue there. Fruition. I'll say it again. I realised that every time I said fruition, I did the scary eyes. So I'm sorry if that was alarming, Crystal. But we could also talk about like challenges and stuff that we had along the
Yeah.
way. And then maybe then in the second half, we can share sort of like practical strategies, tips for people to then go away with. And so when they are implementing their wonderful ideas, it's a bit easier for them as well. And obviously, there will be links to all, like to you, your website, your business, all of that lovely stuff if they need some assistance. Does that sound good?
That's amazing. Let's go.
Let's go. So, yeah, I mean, what makes complete sense for me to talk about is the SEO Mindset podcast, right?
Yes. Let's start off there. That's a great start.
So, I mean, yes, because the SEO mindset, that started off as an idea.
Yeah.
And how that came about was actually, so you're going to get the backstory now, settle in with some popcorn. But I posted on the Fabulous Women in Tech SEO community. If you're not part of that community,
You should
seriously
be.
urge you should, yeah. We seriously urge you to join, and I'll make sure there's links so you can do that. But I posted within the Women in Tech SEO community asking if anyone wanted help with podcasting, because I've been podcasting for a while. I wanted to start freelancing and I wanted to start helping other people launch, grow, monetize podcasts. So I was like, okay, let's see what the community is saying. And Tasmin was one of the people that reached out to me, and we originally spoke about her wanting to set up a poetry podcast, and I still think that she should. But yeah, poetry is one of Tasmin's passions. And we just got talking, and we realized that when having conversations with people within the community, that there was some common issues coming up where people were feeling anxiety, imposter syndrome. They didn't know how to do certain things. They didn't know how to navigate. So more so not how to do SEO, but more on the softer skills and career development, personal growth, mental health. And as we got talking, we kind of realized that there was a gap in the market. And whilst there's lots of wonderful podcasts out there that tell you how to do SEO, there wasn't one or many at that time that was specifically focused on giving career growth, personal development and mental health tips for the SEO industry. So as we got talking, we were like, well, this is a no-brainer. We need to create this podcast. And it sort of happened quite quickly, if I'm honest, Crystal, because I'm a person who I have an idea. I'm a little bit impatient because I just want things done there and
Yeah.
then. And it just seemed to just happen, really. So yeah, me and Tasmin, like, obviously we had stuff to set up in the back end,
Yeah.
and we had to like figure some stuff out. But before we knew it, we had a podcast, we'd recorded some episodes, and we were out there.
And I love that. And that reminds me of one thing, that some great ideas start from just conversations, and sometimes just reaching out, something is sparked, or better yet, realizing that there's a gap. And if there's a gap always in the market for something, ideas are born. So I love how there's that two dimension of, you had a conversation and you realize the gap, because that really allows you to see how solid your idea is. And of course, it is solid now because we're like 2.5 years in. So amazing.
I know, I can't quite believe it's been 2.5 years. And even though we've covered so many different topics and subjects, I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's more to come. So yeah, tune in. I'm only saying that because I'm on the back end, so I know there's definitely more to come. Yeah. So obviously ideas are formed usually throughout conversations or gaps. But were there any challenges that you had to make sure that your idea was solid, or that it could be something that people wanted? Did you face any challenges? And then how did you obviously overcome that?
So I think we were kind of lucky in the sense of, because I've been podcasting for a while, like technically and logistically, putting together a podcast and getting it out there, I sort of knew what I was doing. And also when it came to like subjects and topics and what we were talking about and the strategies, that was covered as well, because that was Tasman's bag. Like, that's what she lives and breathes. Like, she's a wonderful coach. She has lots of knowledge, expertise, all of that stuff. I suppose the biggest challenge that we had was time. Yeah, resource. Wanting to be able to implement all the ideas that we had, or making sure that we were putting time aside, because it's it's a side hustle, right? We've both got other things that we need to do in our lives, and so that was the biggest challenge, which was time and resource, and making sure that we were putting time aside to make sure that things were happening. And whilst we've been able to refine some of that stuff as you go along, because you find ways to work quicker and more efficient together, and the fact that we could work together, there was some things that we could like, there's things that I could focus on and do, and there's some things that Tasman could focus on and do. But it was hard with the prioritization as well, because there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many days in the week. So you kind of have to prioritize, okay, what is the most important? And that was a challenge.
Were there any other challenges, maybe like structural challenges, or things that you realised that you couldn't do but you needed help and support?
Social media. The reason why we're laughing and giggling is because that is how Crystal came on board, and Crystal helped us. So one of the things that we struggled with was promotion. So obviously it takes a lot of time putting together podcast episodes, planning it, recording it, editing it and getting it out there. It can be like, oh, crikey, now I need to promote. So we were doing sort of the bare minimum, and we definitely needed some help. And that is when, Crystal, you came on board. And I think you originally had a conversation with Tasman, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Tasman about the podcast, and my service isn't obviously what I can do. And I very much liked the idea very quickly because I'm not like advanced in SEO. So navigating SEO, I also needed help. And the fact that you have a podcast which helps people to navigate SEO, but also other parts of their lives, I thought it was amazing. And as always, as I say, if you're doing something amazing, so many other people need to know what you're doing. So I was more than happy to jump on board.
And it was, and that was a challenge in itself, wasn't it? Because it was, we had a few conversations, and we clicked, we vibed, and it was all lovely, wonderful. We all got on, and it was evident that we needed your help and support.
Yeah.
But then another challenge reared its head was the podcast. It makes some money, but not, me and Tasman aren't making it rain yet. Not yet, anyway.
Soon, it's coming soon. Yeah.
But there was a challenge around, because obviously you need to make money from your services and stuff. So there was a conversation of, crikey, we really need Crystal, but we couldn't afford, and being completely transparent and open, we couldn't afford your services. So that was another challenge, but we found a way of working around it. And I think this is important to address and talk about, because I imagine that there's other people that will find themselves in the same situation where they want to use something or pay for something, but they just don't have the money. So that's where the idea of a collaboration
Yeah.
came from.
And I love that. And I always say people don't realize what they have around them. So, like you mentioned, Tasmin realized that she knew me and I did social media. So she used her network to kind of navigate the SEO mindset and realize that there's power in collaboration. Yes, we all need to get paid, but at the same time, you need people who really believe in what you're doing. And I found oftentimes when people have an idea, one thing that does stop them from bringing that idea to life is money, because they need graphic designers, or they need social media managers, or they need some sort of content to promote what they're doing, but they can't necessarily afford it, especially if they're just starting up. So I would say collaboration is a very good strategy or a very good way to go about things. And I'm glad to be obviously collaborating with you guys on the podcast. But I think that is definitely a good solution to anyone that's struggling to bring something into life.
Mm.
Just collaborate, don't compete, but collaborate.
Yeah, and you need to think outside the box. So obviously, there were certain things. Whilst me and Tasman couldn't offer money, there was other things that we could offer with the SEO Mindset podcast, like our audience reach, all of that lovely stuff. So, yeah, like I love the idea of collaboration, because there's lots of people out there that can easily work together to help elevate each other. And if you've got a same or similar goal, just have the conversation, work together. Collaboration
Yeah.
is lovely.
But don't
And
you
yeah.
find that it's often a little bit hard because as we're speaking now, you're being very transparent. Like money was an issue. I think when people want to build something, they're not honest or they're not transparent about what they can and can't do. And I think it's good to be transparent and honest, especially if we're collaborating.
Mm.
You want to be able to work with somebody that understands your viewpoint but understands where you're going, and can buy into your vision. And I think that's really important because let's say that I was all about the money, right? And I was like, no, I need my money. I don't want to partner up with you. Then I'm not that right person for you per se in terms of promoting the SEO podcast. So I love the fact that you are transparent and honest from the get go, because a lot of times I've worked with people or I've seen things where people are not necessarily honest about number one, the type of partnership that they want or collaboration that they want, and number two, what they can and can't do. So I think being mindful of that it is okay not to have everything once you have an idea, but being honest and being transparent about where you want to go. You'd be surprised how many people would want to buy in and support you.
And I mean, honesty is the foundation of any good business or even personal relationship. So, Crystal, I've shared an experience of mine about where an idea has come into, I'm going to say the word again, the scary eyes are going to happen, fruition. Did you want to share?
Yes. So I would say my recent um venture, will I call it a venture? My recent project that I'm launching. So I had this idea actually at Brighton SEO last year. And in 2 weeks I get to make that actually into a reality as to an idea. But I had an idea to bring together creatives and freelancers um, who can actually just learn from each other and who can support each other, but also kind of level up, because it's a pattern that I kept hearing or kept seeing that specifically when people start freelancing for the first time or they've been doing it for a while, it's like a guessing game. They don't really have like a manual, they don't have anyone to kind of help them or hold their hands. So I was like, okay, well, I've been doing this for like a long time, so I might as well be that person or be that platform to kind of guide people, to help them to navigate, but also to educate them and help them to make money. I love helping people to make money, so it was a no-brainer. But I think for me, navigating that idea that I've had, it's changed like over 50 times since last year. And now I've got it to a good enough state that I'm actually launching this thing out into the world, and hopefully, like, I'll be able to support a lot of freelancers and creatives throughout their journey, and give them the support that they need.
Just hearing you talk there, it's a lovely idea, venture. I think venture is a wonderful way of describing it as well. And an evident challenge that you've already sort of hinted at was obviously it's evolved. Yeah. You had this idea, but you weren't quite ready to launch it because it had to have some tweaks and refinements, which is going to be a challenge, isn't it? Because, yeah, you have to. I mean, with the SEO mindset, like obviously that had to have some refinements and tweaks before we went out into the big wide world, and we can continue to do that. But what other challenges did you find?
Um, I think this challenge that I found was something that I realize a lot of people do have, and that's fear. Usually, when you have an idea and it's something that affects you. So I'm a freelancer as well as being a founder and a business owner. I freelance, and I wanted to launch something, but it's that fear of, oh, what if people are not going to buy into this, or how would I navigate this into my current business and what I do, or um, just the fear of just being not supported and just rejected. I think that was one of my initial challenges, to the point that I had to actually go out and speak to somebody, for them to kind of give me some reassurance. But I think fear was definitely one of them. And then I would say the second challenge is just um, money, yet again. With every good idea, to really make sure that your idea comes to life, you need some sort of money. And for me, it was like, okay, how much am I going to spend on this? How much is it going to cost? What do I need? What do I have? What don't I have? How can I leverage and navigate? But I think I've been able to kind of like rectify that by deciding to set it up as a CIC rather than a limited company, which means that we can have grants and have other communities benefit from what it is that I'm trying to give out.
Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. Well, we are at a time where we need to take a short break, Crystal. But I think that first half of the conversation was wonderful. I definitely enjoyed chatting through that. And hopefully it's got people either thinking about their experiences that they've had where they've taken an idea and made it happen, or maybe there's some challenges that we've already addressed for some people that they're already finding out. But we are going to take a short break so people can digest the information, get it in their heads. And then when we come back, we're going to be sharing tips about how you can be successful with your idea. Does that sound good, Crystal?
Sounds amazing.
All right. Hi, Sarah here. Just quickly reminding you of the ways that you can support the podcast. So if you enjoy what me and Tasmin are doing, there are a couple of ways that you can support us. We are set up on Buy Me a Coffee. That means that you can give us a one-off donation. If you fancy doing that, there's a link in the show notes and we would be very, very appreciative of that. You can also sign up to our newsletter. So if you want to keep up to date with the latest, with what's going on, episodes, events, anything and everything that me, Tasmin and the podcast are up to, you can do that by signing up to our newsletter and you can unsubscribe at any time.
SEOs. Have you heard about Stat? Stat is a SERP tracking and analytics platform built for tackling large-scale SEO with accuracy and ease. Whether you're in-house or at an agency, juggling multiple sites, millions of pages, or just a ton of keywords, Stat tracks your search performance at scale without falling over. And since each Google SERP is a treasure trove of consumer research and made of more than just rankings, Stat is more than just a rank tracker. From SERP features to competitors, search volume to share of voice, you'll get everything the 100 Results SERP has to offer, parsed, analyzed, and delivered right to your doorstep every single day. It's pretty much the ultimate SEO insights tool. And with Instant Insight, you can unlock new search opportunities, drive more visibility, and prove the value of the SEO work you do. Want to learn more about how you can succeed with Stat? Head on over to www.getstat.com or follow the link in the show notes.
Introducing Clear Narrative Media, a purpose-led media marketing agency that transforms how founders, creatives, and organizations share their stories online. Dedicated to assisting you with all your marketing, content, and strategy needs. Their services include photography, consultancy, and social media management. Clear Narrative Media is here to transport your visions to life. They are on a mission to help you to create awareness, build visibility, and enhance your business and professional growth overall. For more information, head over to their website at cnmedia.com or follow the link in the show notes. We are back for part 2. Crystal, did you enjoy that break?
No, that was really good. Got me thinking, so ready and fired up for the next one.
Well, now we need to be sharing some tips.
Yeah.
So we've talked about our own experiences where we've taken an idea, turned it into something. We've highlighted some challenges and how we overcame it. So what I think would be really good now is just spend some time sharing some tips to help our listeners be more successful with the next idea that they want to put into place and make happen. So over to you, Crystal. What are I want three main tips, please.
Okay, so my top tip for being successful, turning something from an idea to reality, I think number one, thing for me is your mindset. I see your mind like as a good soil, like having a good mindset is like a good soil. And whatever idea you have is that seed. So once you plant that, if you've got good soil and you water it well and you nurture it, that, taking your word, fruition grows and comes into fruition. So I think for me, your mindset is everything. Having a growth. Yes, I've been listening to the podcast. Having a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset is very important, because it enables you to experience different things, but to also kind of align where you need to align. So, number one, definitely have a good mindset. Like, that would help you to turn your idea into reality. And once you have a good mindset, I would say discipline is the number two, because you could have an idea and a good mindset, but do nothing with it. And that doesn't do anything for you. So having discipline, and by discipline, what I mean is have structures in place. So if you know that you need to wake up at 7 o'clock every morning, so that you can get to doing work by 8 or 9 o'clock, set yourself that structure. Whether it's an alarm or using tools and systems, I think that helps. And also knowing seeing the end from the beginning helps, and that keeps you disciplined. You know that, okay, I want to make £1 million, let's say. And to make £1 million, I can't just be sleeping around all day, right? I need to actually put things in place. I need to, if it's a product, make sure that my product is verified, certified, and I'm promoting and talking about my product. So being really disciplined with your time, being really disciplined with your tools, your structures, being very disciplined with your energy as well, will really help you and direct you to where you need to go. And number three, I would say having the right environment, or being in the right environment. Just like your mind is a soil, if you're planted in a wrong environment, you're not going to grow. But if you're planted in the right environment, you have all the resources that you need. So that could be removing yourself from people that don't understand your vision, because sometimes you could have an idea and someone will say, I don't think that's going to work, or why don't you do something different, or maybe it's already been done. But it's removing yourself from negative people, negative voices. It's removing yourself from an environment where you feel restricted and you're not allowed to grow and thrive. And I always say that having an idea, like an idea is not linear, like it's not a straight line. It can go up and down. So being in an environment that allows you to be flexible and to test out different parts of your idea and to refine it is really, really important. So those would be my top 3 tips. Have a good mindset, be disciplined, and be in the right environment.
I love all those tips. And discipline is a really important one, but a tricky one at the same time. So, yeah, like with discipline, I think you need to it's right, you need to have discipline, but maybe give yourself the space to allow yourself to be disciplined. It will take some time. And yeah, don't give yourself too much of a hard time if
Yeah, give
you
yourself
don't
some
stick.
grace.
But
Yeah. And that's the thing. People think discipline has to be very harsh, but it doesn't have to be. It's discipline is just making sure that you're on track. It's like it's the rope that guides you to where you're going. So don't be harsh on yourself if you weren't able to do 1,000 words yesterday, or you weren't able to do what you
and
needed to do.
maybe you just need to alter it a little bit. Like maybe what you've set out isn't quite possible. So your discipline just needs to change a little bit. But until you until you try. And I also love your point about well, everything that you said, like your mindset. Think of it like a plant or like soil, like it needs to be nourished. So, and again, we all get those sort of negative thoughts that come into our head. And so with this mindset, again, it's another thing that will take some time. But with your environment, if something's not serving you, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Sounds
It's easier
harsh,
said than
but
done.
it
It is.
is definitely. Yeah, I think we've all been there. But if something is toxic, if something's not quite working, I think it's being brave enough to sort of be like, do you know what, this isn't quite working, and changing. So I love all those tips, and yeah, definitely getting them into place will help with your.
What are your top tips, Sarah? I want to hear them.
What are my top tips?
Yeah.
Thought you'd never ask, Crystal. So to build on what you've already spoken about, my massive thing is don't strive for perfection. So many times people don't get something done because they've got this thing in their head, they've got the ideal of how it needs to be, that they don't ever get around to launching or getting something done because it's not quite perfect. Forget perfect. Getting something done is much better. And you've got to think about it as well, that anything that you're putting out there, you're going to be refining, developing, and changing anyway. Like, so for example, if I listen back to the very first podcast episode I ever did, I'd probably cringe a little bit now. But the only reason I'm cringing is because I've come on from that. I've perfected my skills over the years. I've got a bit better. So yeah, allow yourself to cringe. Do you know what I mean?
So
Allow
true.
yourself
Yeah.
to grow, to learn, and get better. But really, like, just forget about perfection. Obviously, you want to get it to a place where it's okay enough. But if things aren't quite as you 100% envisioned it, don't worry about it. Just get it out there, because that's better than it never being out there in the first place. Are you a perfectionist, Crystal?
I am, and that's something that I've struggled with for years. But like you said, do it now and think about it later, because action is better than reaction. Yeah, it's better for you to take action now than for you to sit, react, plan, navigate, and then it doesn't go anywhere. So take action.
And also, realistically, when you're first starting, your audience, or how many people are going to see that end thing, isn't going to be masses, is it? So use that time when you're in your launch phase, or when your audience isn't like massive or big as you want it to be, because obviously you're going to grow it depending on whatever that is. Use that time so you can practice and do different stuff. So the first ever like, even with the SEO mindset, how many monthly downloads we were getting in the first months is very different to where it is now. But that's because we've grown it. People have got to know about it. But it doesn't, like, when you're first starting something, it doesn't really matter if you're in the test, refine stage, because you're probably not talking about masses of people who are going to see it anyway. Just as another side thought, I've got two others. Don't compare yourself too much to others. It is so easy, especially with social media, to be comparing ourselves to other. So for me, I'm constantly comparing myself to other SEO people, other freelancers, other podcasters. And whilst a little bit of like competition is healthy, and you want to see what others are doing, because maybe you can take ideas from that, or you can be like, I know how to make that better. Perhaps. Please don't compare yourself too much to others, because remember, you're on your own journey and you don't know the journey that other people have taken. And people only show the positive and the good stuff on social media. They don't necessarily show the battle or like the trials and tribulations. So just remember, this is your journey. Set yourself benchmarks that are realistic or make sense to you. Yes, it's always good to have people to look up to and aspire to, but don't don't compare and like give yourself a hard time if you're not quite where someone else is. Remember, this is your own journey, folks. Like, give yourself grace. You will get there when you will. You will get there when you will.
You will. No, but you will. You actually will. And I absolutely love that point. And as a social media manager, specialist, whatever, I just want to say that is so important, because we are conditioned to show the best parts of ourselves. You're not going to see well, you might, but you're not typically going to see someone sitting in their bedroom crying about something that went wrong. You're going to see them winning deals and shaking hands and smiling, but you don't know what happened 5 minutes before they took that picture. So definitely, like, don't be hard on yourself from the things you see on social media, but know that, you know, everyone has a backstory. You're not seeing what's behind the scenes, right?
And you don't know how many no's someone has had to go through before they've got the yes as well. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one, I read something somewhere, I should really know the source of this, but and now I've just derailed myself. What was I talking about?
About the amount of, you don't know how many no's someone's gotten before they've gotten that yes.
Do you know what? My brain is really gone somewhere.
No, but I definitely understand you. And I think one point I do want to add is that everybody is on a different level. So you could be seeing someone's level 35 and you're like on level 5, right? You can't necessarily compare yourself because you're in 2 different stages. You don't know what they've had to go through to get to that level 35. So if you're on level 5 and you're like, oh my gosh, like they've got everything sorted, they're XYZ, they've had to go through a lot of refinement and a lot of processes to get to where they need to get to. So don't necessarily compare your level to theirs. Just focus on yours and just be inspired.
Do you know what, Crystal? I have no idea what I was going to say. That thought has well and truly left my brain. That has never happened to me before. But yeah, we get I think, everyone gets the point. Like, you stop comparing yourself to others. And then my last one. Do you want to know my last one?
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I mean, hopefully this won't just vanish from my brain like the last thought just did. It won't. I mean, I'm being a bit cheeky because technically this is kind of two, but kind of not. But I suggest having accountability buddies and or cheerleaders. So accountability buddies are similar to your discipline point, actually. So have someone that can hold you accountable. So if you are working on something with someone else, so with the SEO mindset, it was me and Tasmin, so we could hold each other accountable. But if it's a solo project, is there someone in your life that like you can have an accountability check-in? So an idea could be, maybe you can team up with some other people that you know that want to do a project or they want to launch something, and then each month you kind of meet up, you set yourself, okay, this is what I'm going to achieve this time, and then when you meet up again, you have to then feed back to the group, because then you've got a bit of accountability, because you're like, oh, I've got to do this one thing, but again, things will happen, obstacles will come your way, so you might not be able to roll out what you were wanting to. But also having that accountability check-in, you might be able to troubleshoot with the people and be like, look, I really wanted to try and do this thing, but I couldn't, and then troubleshoot together. And then having a cheerleader is a little bit different. So we all have those down days, something goes wrong, something doesn't go to plan, or we just don't feel confident. We have that self-doubt, imposter syndrome seeps in. Get yourself a cheerleader. Get someone that you know that you can go to and be like, I'm having a bit of a down day. Can you G me up a bit? Can you be my cheerleader? Because that will really help, because we all forget in those moments, we all forget about all the good stuff that we have done, all the good stuff that we have achieved, whether that's to do with the project or the thing that you're trying to launch, but also in life in general. So just having someone reminding you how great you are is a really good thing. So get yourself a cheerleader. They don't need to have pom-poms. That's not a necessity. That's a hard word to say. So yeah, they're my tips, Crystal.
No, but I love that. And I think for me, it's only in the last, okay, I'm not going to say in the last, yeah, it's only in the last year that I've had cheerleaders and I've had accountability partners, especially because I do a lot of things solo. So I realized the impact that it's had in my life. Like, once I need like a sounding board, I know that I can put something into a group. They can say, oh, you can even do it this way. And I haven't even thought about it. So I think when it comes to accountability, it's fantastic to have other people who are on similar journeys that you are like on, that can kind of help you or support you or hold you accountable to what you're doing. But also, you need a cheerleader. Like, sometimes you need a pick me up, someone to tell you that, not someone who will lie to you, but someone who will remind you. And I think that's the difference. Not someone who will just go along with what you're saying or what you're doing, but someone who will remind you of who you are, what you're trying to do, and the positive outcomes that you've had so far. And sometimes you just need someone to just tell you you're doing great and keep going. So
You
no,
are
definitely
good
love those
and
tips.
great, Crystal. You
Yeah.
are good
Oh,
and great.
thanks, Sarah. You're making me blush.
Wonderful. Well, I'm very sorry, Crystal, but we've run out of time. Technically, we've gone a bit over, but who's checking? Who's checking the clock? But that has been such a good episode. That's been such a lovely conversation, Crystal. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And, I love being at the front scene. I'm usually at the back, but no, thank you so much. And it was lovely to kind of share and kind of hopefully inspire people to pursue their dreams and their ideas and just put things in place to make sure that you can turn that into a reality. Yeah.
If people want to carry on the conversation, if people want to carry on talking to you, where can they do that? Where are you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. You can book in a 30-minute free session with me. If you have an idea and you just need someone to listen to you, flush it out, create some structures and systems, if you hit me up either on LinkedIn, Instagram, or on my website, I'll be more than happy to help you. Yeah.
Lovely stuff. And we will make sure that we include links to Crystal in the show notes. So go and check that out and connect with Crystal. Crystal, you've been so helpful with sorting out social media for the SEO Mindset podcast. So raving review from me. She'd do fabulous stuff for your company. So or brand or whatever you're doing or whatever idea that you want to launch, get Crystal to help because you've
Thank
been
you.
invaluable for me and Tasmin with the SEO Mindset podcast. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for believing in my talent to help to bring your idea to life. So thank you.
Lovely stuff. Well, let's say goodbye. Take care of yourself. And until next time, Crystal.
Thanks, Sarah. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Looking to create awareness, build visibility, and enhance growth for your business, organization, or yourself? Introducing Clear Narrative Media, a purpose-led media and marketing agency that transforms how founders, creatives, and organizations share their stories online. Dedicated to assisting you with all your marketing, content, and strategy needs. You can find them on all social media platforms and online at cnmediaa.com or follow the link in the show notes.
Hi, Tasmin here. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Be more visible, earn more, but also take care of your well-being and have work-life harmony? Well, I can help you because I'm offering you a free 30-minute consultancy call. Together, we can go through where you want to be and how to get there. Simply click on the link in the show notes, fill in a form, and I'll get back to you.
Hey SEOs, are you ready to strike more eureka moments? Then you'll need the ultimate SEO insights tool, Stat. Stat delivers precision surf insights in any location, on desktop and mobile, every single day, for keyword counts that start in the thousands. There's no more guessing who the competition is or how you measure up. Stat's powerful share of voice metrics and robust competitor tracking will keep you in the know and on top of the SERPs. With one-click CSV reports, handy APIs, and pre-built Looker Studio connectors, you can even take your SERP data to go to fuel deep analysis and ambitious experimentation. And that's just scratching the surface. Learn more about Stat at www.getstat.com or follow the link in the show notes.